Rumi tells a story right at the beginning of his masterpiece, the Masnavi, that sounds like a fairy tale but hits like a sledgehammer. It's called The King and the Handmaiden, but please don't consider it to be a classic love story, because at the end of the story, Rumi tells us that the king and the slave girl are just analogies, and the story is actually about us. So let's dive. The story starts with a king, powerful, wealthy. He has everything. One day, he's out riding, and he sees a handmaiden, a slave girl, and boom, he falls in love. He buys her, he brings her to the palace. He thinks this is it, happiness. But then, disaster. The girl falls sick. She's wasting away, she's pale, she's dying. Naturally, the king panics. He calls the best doctors in the land, the experts. And here is where Rumi starts poking fun at human arrogance. Rumi describes these doctors walking in, chests puffed out. They say to the king, "Don't worry, we hold the cure. We are the messiahs of medicine." Note that arrogance. They didn't say, "God willing." They didn't say, "We will try." They said, "We possess the life." And what happens? They fail. Miserably. They give her potions and her fever goes up. They give her oils and she dries out. Rumi points out a terrifying truth here. When you rely solely on intellect, on logic, on your own ego to fix the problems of the soul, you make things worse. He says that without the grace of the divine, even the medicine becomes poison. The girl is at death's door. The king realizes his money, his power, and his experts are useless, so he runs to the mosque. He throws himself on the floor. He cries until the floor is soaked with tears. This is the turning point. Rumi argues that the moment you give up, the moment you realize you are not in control, that is when the door opens. And it does. An old man appears in the king's dream, a divine physician. He says, "I am coming." The next day, a stranger arrives. The king knows instantly, this is the real healer. He takes the stranger to the girl. Now watch what happens. The divine physician doesn't check her temperature. He doesn't look at her tongue. He clears the room. He sits by her side. He speaks to her gently. He takes her pulse, and he starts asking her about her past. Where are you from? Who have you met? He's naming cities. Her pulse is steady. He names towns. Steady. Then he says Samarkand. Her pulse jumps. He asks, who in Samarkand? She whispers about a goldsmith, a man who works with gold in the city of Samarkand. And suddenly, the diagnosis is clear. She isn't sick with a virus. She is sick with grief. She is lovesick. Her heart belongs to this goldsmith, and being separated from him is killing her body. The girl recovers instantly. She's happy. The goldsmith is happy. The king watches them content. Happy ending, right? No. This is where Rumi pulls the rug out from under you. This is the part that makes modern readers uncomfortable. The divine physician creates a potion, but it's not a vitamin, it's a slow-acting poison. He gives it to the goldsmith, and the goldsmith, he begins to rot. He loses his looks, he becomes pale, ugly, sickly. His beauty, that golden shine, fades away, and as his beauty fades, the handmaiden's love for him, it vanishes. She looks at this sick, moaning, ugly man, and she feels nothing. Eventually, the goldsmith dies. The girl is free of her attachment, and she returns, purified, to the king. Cruel? It sounds absolutely brutal. Why kill the innocent goldsmith? But listen closely. Rumi isn't talking about murder. He isn't talking about a literal king or a literal goldsmith. If you think that, you've missed the treasure. Rumi explains that the king represents the spirit. The spirit is that part of you that is from God. It's noble, it's high. The handmaiden, she is the soul, the nafs, the part of us that lives in this world. And the soul falls in love with the goldsmith. Who is the goldsmith? He is the glitter of the world. He is the external form. He represents everything we obsess over. That promotion, that specific person you think you can't live without, the image in the mirror, the status, the money. We love the goldsmith because he is shiny. He molds gold. He looks good. Rumi points out that the soul gets sick because it's attached to something temporary. We think, if I just get that job, I'll be happy. If I just marry that person, I'll be whole. So the divine physician, who represents the spiritual guide or divine grace, he knows you can't just tell the soul, stop loving the world. The soul is stubborn. It won't listen. So what does the physician do? He reveals the true nature of the goldsmith. The poison isn't arsenic. The poison is truth. The physician shows the soul that this thing you love, it decays. It's temporary. It's ugly underneath the surface. Rumi is yelling at us here. He says the love of the living is the only love that has life. He warns that any love based on color, on shape, on skin, on status, it is technically a disgrace. Why? Because when the color fades, and it always fades, the love dies, and you are left broken. The goldsmith had to die. Not the man, but the idol inside the handmaiden's heart. Rumi argues that we are all the handmaiden. We are lying in the palace of the king, the universe, God, but we are miserable. Why? Because we want the goldsmith. We want the toy. We want the shiny object in Samarkand. We are sick with attachment. And we have these arrogant doctors, our logic, our strategies, our self-help books, telling us, get the goldsmith, and you'll be fine. But the divine physician knows better. He gives us what we want. He brings the goldsmith, only to show us that it's not what we needed. Have you ever gotten exactly what you wanted, only to realize 6 months later it didn't fix you? That is the goldsmith rotting. Rumi's hidden message is shaking us because it demands a death. Not a physical death, but the death of our illusions. He says you have to watch your goldsmith die. You have to let that obsession rot. You have to see it for what it really is, temporary dust. Only when the handmaiden stops looking at the goldsmith can she turn around and see the king. The king was there the whole time. The king loved her the whole time, but she was too busy looking at the shiny thing. It is a painful process. Rumi never says the spiritual path is easy. He says it's like being polished. It hurts. The goldsmith cries out in the story. He says, "I am the peacock of the world. Why do you kill me?" That is our ego talking. That is our worldly desire screaming, "I am important. Look at me." But Rumi is relentless. He says, let him go. Because as long as you are in love with the reflection, you are turning your back on the source of the light. So the question Rumi leaves us with isn't about a fairy tale, it's a challenge. He asks, what is your goldsmith? What is the thing you are lovesick over? What is the thing that, if it were taken away, you think you would die? He tells us, let it rot. Let the facade crumble. It's the only way to heal the sickness. It's the only way to remember that you belong to the king.